partner of 9 years broke up to have sex with a coworker to realize he threw away everything for nothing. I don't know exactly what I'm seeking by posting this, I guess mainly insight and maybe wanting to hear if anyone has faced something similar. The father of my 8-month-old child and I have been together for 9 years, engaged for 3. We're both 28. The relationship was rocky. We argued often and at one point I became sexually uninterested in him, mainly because he was addicted to video games, porn, and didn't help much around the house or financially. I got pregnant in August of 2023, unexpectedly. I was hesitant about keeping the baby because my career was finally starting to kick off and I knew I'd have to sacrifice it in order to take care of my child. He encouraged me to keep the baby and said our family was the most important thing to worry about. We mortgaged a house we couldn't afford because his mother gave us her word that she would help with the payments. I gave birth in May of 2024. Soon after giving birth she informed us she could no longer help financially. He was barely making enough to cover the payments. I stopped working. After I gave birth, neither he nor my mother-in-law helped much with the baby. He slept in a different room, hadn't spent a single night with me or came in to check on me at night knowing I was averaging 3 hours of sleep per night. We also have 2 big dogs I had to run downstairs to feed and let out throughout the day while leaving my baby upstairs as I was afraid the dogs might jump or hurt the baby if I came downstairs with him. I only got help with the baby when my mother would come to visit for a week once a month. 2 months and my mother offers for me to stay with her and my father for a month so they can help out with the baby. The month flew by and I knew what I'd be coming back to, so I told my partner I was thinking of staying in New York for a year so I can get the help I needed and he'd have to either come visit or consider selling the house and moving down with me so we can live together again. He was completely hesitant about moving as he didn't want to give up the house or figure out what to do with our dogs. We started having more arguments because I saw on the cameras that he wasn't letting our dogs potty for over 8 hours some days as he was at work. I suggested to give them up to someone who can care for them the way they deserve to be cared for. This went on for about 3 months with him occasionally coming to New York for a few days. I didn't want to engage sexually as I was exhausted and turned off from him not wanting to even lift up the baby or hold him unless he was asked to. He also wanted to move his pot-smoking coworker in who was hooking up with girls at work so he can help out with rent. I refused because he had a dog as well and I knew he'd be a bad influence of my partner because he was encouraged my partner to steer smoking again. He promised me he quit a month prior to the breakup, though that was a lie. Our last big argument was over the dogs. He was planning to come stay with me in New York for a week so he can help out with the baby because my parents were going on vacation. We planned this out a month prior. He calls me 2 days after the argument to break things off because we argue all the time and things aren't getting better. I peacefully agreed and asked if he was speaking to someone as the breakup seemed sudden. He shook it off and said, "Why would that be the first thing you assume?" Fast forward to 4 days after the breakup, he writes me a paragraph apologizing, saying how I didn't deserve anything he put me through and how I'll never forgive him. I didn't question as far as what he was referring to and simply told him that I wished him good luck in his future. As a month passed, we only spoke when he messaged about the baby, which was every 3 days or so. I randomly let him know I'm coming down and that I wasn't sure how long I was staying for. He kept asking me 3 days in a row if I knew how long I'd stay. When I came, I told him I was only staying for a day to pack my belongings. He was following me around the house until we were alone in our room and said he wanted to talk. Started blaming me for arguments and miscommunication but said he wanted to work on getting back together. I noticed he had used my razor and took everything of mine out of the bedroom. I asked if he was sleeping with someone, to which he responded that he wasn't and ran downstairs to what I assume was to speak with his friend. When he came back up, I asked again and he said that he was sleeping with a server from work. She's 19. He slept with her 3 times. Said he couldn't have sex with her the first 2 because he was overwhelmed with guilt. Of course I started bawling, crying, and told him any chance he had of getting me back went out the window. I got really drunk because I couldn't believe what I had just heard. He got drunk too. Hours of arguing and me crying, we ended up hooking up. He started crying in the middle of us having sex. I left, leaving him with the idea that we were working on things and had a chance to get back together. But once I started to sober up, I began to process everything and didn't feel like he was deserving of a second chance. He bought a flight the same hour to come to New York and said he wouldn't leave without speaking to me. I came out so he could see his son and we got to talking. Fast forward, he sold the house, gave the dogs to his mother temporarily and moved to New York. I decided to work on the relationship and try to forgive him since we have a child together and I do love him. However, it's been absolutely eating me alive every day. To make things worse, I asked if she was tighter, to which he admitted she was. Now I can't stop thinking about everything. I hate what he did and I'm obsessively looking at this girl's profile every other day, comparing myself to her. Is it worth continuing to try to move forward? Am I trying to ignite something that can't be brought back?